When I meet people for the first time, just as I'm meeting you today, I can tell as the conversation moves along that they're becoming quite impressed by my charm, intelligence, good looks and modesty. But sooner or later we get round to what I do for a living, and then a cloud passes across the brow and I could tell that they would really much rather move away. However, good manners win, and they try to keep the conversation going. Oh, history, they say. I was never any good at that at school. All those dates. There was only one date I can always remember, 1066, the Battle of Hastings. Why are the English so preoccupied with the Battle of Hastings in 1066? The last successful foreign invasion of English soil. That takes some swallowing, especially an invasion by a Frenchman. Didn't William the Conqueror think up some transparently false pretext for invading England to become the king? And didn't he only win the battle by breaking the rules? Harold, the last English king, was exhausted after winning another battle near York, but even then William had to play a trick in order to win the day. Nowhere more than in Lincoln are we, consciously or subconsciously, more aware of this conquest in 1066, because the Norman castle and cathedral dominate the city. Visitors may assume that the castle was built to protect and serve the city. Quite the reverse is true. It was erected to intimidate and control the English citizens, several hundred of whom had their houses swept away to make room for it. The constable who lived in the castle was William's personal representative. Similarly, the site of the cathedral of the diocese was moved by William's decree from Dorchester near Oxford to Lincoln to emphasise that there was a new regime. The first bishop, Remigius, was a Norman, and his new church partnered the new castle just as the bishop, much more than a priest, partnered the constable in administering and supervising the whole region. Our only contact with Remigius today is the lid from his tomb, which lies in the nave of the cathedral. His translation from Normandy to become the first Bishop of Lincoln will have been a tremendous promotion for him, and we can be sure that he was very thorough and very loyal to William in his endeavours to see that Lincoln and the diocese were loyal to the new king. The cathedral we admire and love today is not the building erected by Remigius. Most of it, especially those familiar towers, is from 3 to 4 centuries later. But the west front, with its massive proportions, is part of the original Norman cathedral. The grand round arches of the doorways are part of a style of architecture which in Europe is known as Romanesque, a style of architecture inherited from the Romans. But it's typical of we English that we have to call it Norman architecture, something to do with conquest, something foreign and un-English. In fact, the rich sculpture of these doorways indicate that they were part of the final stage in the completion of the Norman cathedral, built in the period of Bishop Alexander, Remigius' successor. It's a sad fact that after 900 years, these fine carvings are now at risk from the acid rain which comes to the city from the Trentside power stations to the west. The tower of St Mary the Wigford Parish Church was probably already here when the Normans arrived. After London, Saxon Lincoln was one of the largest of English cities, a thriving port with many trades and its own mint. With so many English crowded together, this was a potential breeding ground for rebellion, and William the Norman needed to keep them well and truly under the thumb. The castle has retained far more of its original character, but this well-known gateway is not part of the first structure, nor is the quaint observatory tower. The gateway with its pointed Gothic arch is contemporary with the central tower of the cathedral, and the observatory tower is not much more than a century old. However, if you stand on the ramparts and try to blot out the 19th century clutter of prison and courthouse, then you're looking at the core of William's Castle. The Lucy Tower stands on the original motte, or man-made hill, and it housed the constable's residence or keep, the most secure part of the castle. The extensive walls stand on Norman ramparts, enclosing a huge courtyard or bailey, which housed the large garrison which was needed to subdue the city. The street name, Bailgate, indicates that the castle had a further bailey or enclosed area. The first castle was constructed speedily, using timber, but as soon as the earthen ramparts had settled, stone walls were erected, and the long-neglected west gate retains its Norman appearance. The round arch gateway and windows echo the portals of the Norman cathedral. The complex the English have about 1066 is unnecessary. Few of us could trace our ancestry back to before 1066 without finding some Roman, Norman, Jewish, Huguenot, Welsh, East European or ex-colonial blood. The concept of being English has got to mean something more than merely Anglo-Saxon. But more than that, the citizens of Lincoln who made it so prosperous before the Norman conquest were Danish or Viking in origin. This is why so many Lincoln streets are not called street, which is a Saxon word, but gate, from the Danish word for a street. When the Vikings or Danes were invading the eastern counties of England, some of their brethren were invading the northern part of the land of the Franks, France, and there they continued to be known as the Northmen or Norman. So when the Normans then invaded England in 1066 and took charge of Danish Viking Lincoln, it was actually something of a family reunion and nothing to get hung up about at all.
Well, there we go. That wraps it up for this January 2015 edition of Made in Lincoln UK. Now remember, this is your video platform. If you know of any topics or issues you think would be of interest to the people throughout the Lincoln district, then get in contact with me and I'll put it in the big picture. On next month's episode, I'll be covering the proposed housing developments planned for Netleham. I'll be talking to the parish council to get a clear picture of what's going on. Anthony Lee shows us around some of the Roman artefacts of the archaeological Lincoln collection in the last of my three-part history of the Roman history of Lincoln. All this and lots more.